Hello, Fresh Floppies listeners. This is Jeremy. I am 1/3 of the normal Fresh Floppers, as one might say. I feel like the child that is the glue of a divorced family, even though Noel and JD still love each other, and I'm 30 years old, not a child. All right, so this is episode 121 of Fresh Floppies. It is Thursday, November 20th. We've got a decent amount of stuff to cover. Arguably, the most important and most significant here is Batman Deadpool from DC, not to be confused with Deadpool Batman that was put out by Marvel last month. Believe it or not, two different comics, two different stories, both with, of course, the headlining story being a crossover between Batman and Deadpool, but just like Deadpool Batman, this Batman Deadpool issue has a whole bunch of back end stories with a name that I forget. But as our full collection here, we have Batman Deadpool, then we have Constantine and Doctor Strange, then Nightwing and Laura Kinney, Harley Quinn and the Incredible Hulk, and Static and Miss Marvel. That is sort of the full collection here. The first story, Batman Deadpool, is written by Grant Morrison, art by Dan Mora, both very talented folks. This starts off with something that I enjoy more than the last issue, which was Deadpool Batman, where we almost get an explanation to how these universes are crossing over, and it is literal universal entities effectively meeting at a cosmic bar and hooking up. And that's how these two universes combine. From there, we very quickly jump into Batman is investigating something. We're not entirely clear what it is. We know he's looking for some kind of artifact. We know that it has already led to a handful of deaths. And then in the first page of his investigation, he stumbles upon a Batarang that is not his Batarang. So immediate confusion. There are multiple Batmans. And then we get a splash page of Deadpool doing odd, weird Deadpool stuff. I didn't love this, and it seems worth pointing out that I think I'm in the minority. I keep track of a lot of my comics on League of Comic Geeks, and the reviews for this were, I think, 4.3, 4.4 out of 5 stars on the whole, which is great. I love when people enjoy something. This was a very an exceptionally fourth wall breaking story, even compared to most Deadpool stories, where Deadpool and Batman are effectively venturing around the back rooms. If you're at all familiar with what the back rooms are, what that means, great. If you're not, it is effectively, it is a weird liminal space where rooms don't make sense. I don't actually know the origins of the backrooms concept itself. I truly don't. But it's typically very much like rooted in childhood nostalgia. A lot of the rooms will be like tile and look like there's water slides or pools. But then in this book, for example, a room that seems like an indoor pool suddenly leads to a strange casino bar. And then we're in what almost looks like a theme park. And of course, the initial mystery is, where the hell are they? How did they cross paths? And what is going on here? And then honestly, the solution to this whole mystery is it's bold. I enjoy it. Like I said, it is very fourth wall breaking. Breaking further through the fourth wall than anything that I've read previously in my, I don't know, 2 or 3 years of actually being committed to reading comics. I'm not a huge fan of Deadpool, which doesn't help. my opinion of this, which is on me somewhat. I like things that break the fourth wall. I like things that are focused on comedy, but he is so nonstop, which is fair. That's his whole bit is, Merc with a mouth, all that fun stuff. So it's accurate to character. I'm never going to say it's not. It's just not necessarily for me, for better or worse. But I do think it's a story worth picking up, considering it seems like in general, most people enjoyed it. And then a lot of the backup stories I actually enjoyed them more than the main story. The first one which is both John Constantine Hellblazer and Doctor Strange in the same story. It's called A Magician Walks into a Universe by James Tynion and Joshua Williamson and Scott Snyder. That is a hell of a writing team. They're all marked as writers here. Hayden Sherman is the artist. It was rad. It was cool seeing Constantine be the broody, edgy, dark emo guy that he is, talking with the somewhat uptight Doctor Strange. I very enjoyed those character interactions, or very much enjoyed those. And that's kind of what this book is for. It's for seeing character interactions or seeing conversations between characters that would never cross paths normally, which I enjoy. The John Constantine and Doctor Strange one wasn't my favorite of the bunch, but it was perfectly good. The art was fun. I like the art quite a bit. I believe art was by Hayden Sherman. And then following that, we have Nightwing and Laura Kinney Wolverine, which I think was actually my favorite of the bunch. That was called Sticks and Snicks. Written by Tom Taylor. Bruno Redondo is the artist. This was a lot of fun, actually, seeing Laura Kinney and Nightwing hang out together. They got along really well, which is not something I would have thought if someone had asked me previously. But the way this was presented, it very much made sense. They got along really well. I enjoyed the two of them working together. This story was only maybe 6 pages long, 7. And we very quickly find out they are off to rescue Scout, who is Laura Kinney's younger sister, if you don't happen to know. And Nightwing is always just a cool character. He's always just a good guy. He's Batman, but a little bit less edgy, which I appreciate. Also, I happen to have not the main cover of Batman Deadpool #1. This is a cover with Emma Frost and Catwoman on it, which, seeing the cover, I kind of wanted a story between them. I know that that's not always how comic covers work, for better or worse. Like, the cover does not indicate what you're getting in the book. However, I do want to see that interaction now, because I think it'd be fun. Like, I don't need a Catwoman Black Cat crossover. I really enjoy the idea of the attitudes of Emma Frost and Catwoman combining in one story. On the fresh scale, for Fresh Floppies, I would put this was pretty fresh. It's not my favorite. I would probably put it as like 3 out of 5 stars. I think it's something that, honestly, even if you don't think you'll love the story, I think it's something that's worth picking up. Just, I don't want to say for collectability, because like, collectability is always so subjective, and then it also tends to have associations with like, oh, can I resell it later? I don't give a fuck about that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just saying I think it'd be cool to say, oh yeah, when Marvel and DC finally did crossovers again, very limited crossovers, I have a couple issues of that. I think it'd be fun. Noel sent in a message about his thoughts, and I would like to read them. Noel is the smarter one of the 3 of us. No offense, JD. But if you argue, you're wrong. So I'm curious on his thoughts, and we're going to read it for the first time together. Batman/Deadpool #1 came out this week, not to be confused with Deadpool/Batman #1. Marvel's previous entry into this new era of Big 2 crossovers. Deadpool Batman, the other one, felt like a bucket of corporate-driven, focus group-tested team-ups with no real perspective other than, look, Batman is standing next to Deadpool. Who wins in that fight? I agree. Thanks to the creative team of Grant Morrison and Dan Mora, Klaus Heads Stand Up. I assume Klaus is a series that I'm unfamiliar with. Batman Deadpool #1 feels like the opposite, which is also a pretty good stand-in for the current output of each publisher. DC feeling a little more cohesive and intentional, and Marvel being a little more reactive and scattershot. I 100% agree. Morrison is not really interested in putting the two IPs against one another so much as exploring the undefinable cosmic machinations that would have occurred in order for this meetup to take place. It's a fun, breezy, and just heady enough to feel like a baby's first metaphysical Grant Morrison story. The backups are standard fare, some disposable, some less so, with the Nightwing Wolverine Laura Kinney story bubbling to the surface as best in class. That was my favorite, and if Noel agrees, that means I picked the right one. Tom Taylor, who has written long runs of both, and Bruno Redondo on art, bring both characters' strengths and weaknesses to the forefront, bounces them off each other, and acts as a collective character study. It's a short and thoughtful read that shines as an example of top-notch storytelling. All in all, a fun little read, and if you found yourself disappointed by Deadpool Batman, which was, again, the previous one by Marvel, give this a spin. You may find it much more enjoyable. See, in typical Noel fashion, he does a thing where he explains something so well that I actually think I enjoy it more after he has spoken than before he did. I can't remember what I said I thought about this, even though I just said it. I didn't love it. I still don't think I love it. I do appreciate it more after Noel's input, especially in comparison to Deadpool Batman. I think Batman Deadpool, it has a goal, and I think it accomplishes it. I also think it might be something I enjoy more on a second read after having some more hindsight context. I've got a lot of X-Men stuff to cover for Marvel, but we're going to stick with DC for now, actually. And we're going to move to Justice League Red #4. But the cover says Justice League Dead, as opposed to Justice League Red. But I assure you, it is part of the same series. Justice League Red #4. For anybody who may be out of the loop, Justice League Red has been basically a small sub-team of Justice League Unlimited that has been gathered and deployed by Red Tornado, who is currently without a physical body and is instead just the holographic, effectively AI of the Justice League that's sort of organizing everything, constantly running like threat models and trying to figure out what the biggest issues are, what heroes are fit for each problem at hand. He basically is controlling everything. A couple issues ago, he reaches out to Green Lantern, Power Girl, Cyborg, and they all... By the way, Green Lantern, Simon Baz, not our usual Green... Honestly, at this point, I don't even know if there is a usual Green Lantern. But I especially have pretty limited experience with Green Lantern. But this is actually my very first experience with Green Lantern, Simon Baz, so I'm cool with that. So, we get Power Girl, Green Lantern, Simon Baz, and Cyborg. And Red Tornado is sending them off on missions under the reasoning of, I have run a whole bunch of threat models and, for lack of a better term, danger algorithms to see what might bring about the end of the world. Because this is still somewhat connected to what's going on with Justice League right now, which is the whole DC KO event, which we'll recap in a second for some context. So in the meantime, Red Tornado is basically saying, I've run all these scenarios in my head. The only world in which in which the end of the world doesn't come about is a world where I send you all to accomplish these tasks. So at one point, he sends them off to basically destroy what he says is a giant robotic weapon. They find out it's actually just large farming machinery, and they took away the livelihood of a small farming planet, effectively. He sends them on another mission or two, and they start losing trust in him. So they're like, hey man, what the hell? Why are you just mysteriously sending us on these tasks? Why can't we go talk to the overall Justice League Unlimited? He's like, no, all of my algorithms say if you talk to the Justice League Unlimited, that will bring about, again, end of world type stuff. So, last issue, Cyborg and Power Girl go and rescue Red Canary, who is caught by, or currently captured by, a subsect of the Brotherhood of Blood, I believe they are called. I believe it's the Brotherhood of Blood. If you're familiar with Titans, it is their like main bad organization, and I can't recall exactly what they're called. However, she is captured by them, and in the process of being rescued, she gets all worked up, and the place around her basically explodes. So we're picking up with her waking up after being rescued, being like, "How did I blow things up? Did I hurt anybody?" Etc. Etc. The typical hero questions. And then this carries on into Red Tornado finally disclosing to the team everything that's going on. Here's just a nice little page spread of who's on the team at the moment. Sans Red Canary. But we have Power Girl, Green Lantern, Cyborg, and... oh god, what's his name? Deadman? No. Is it Deadman? Deadman. Yeah. I have no experience with him. I don't know his shtick at all, to be totally honest. But yeah, Red Tornado is finally answering questions, and we do come to find out that a lot of his motivations are to stop Earth effectively turning into Apocalypse. Apocalypse, the planet in the DC universe, who is run by, oh my god, the big bad in the event right now. What's his name? Darkseid. So Darkseid's planet, Apocalypse. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on in the DCKO event right now where effectively Earth is turning into its own apocalypse. Darkseid is effectively trying to take control, and the heroes, effectively all the heroes of Earth, are in one giant fight to figure out who can be the ambivalent ruler of Earth to stop Apocalypse. It's a long story. If you want a DCKO recap, we've recapped it in the last couple episodes where DCKO has come up, and during the start of the event. So you can definitely check that out. I enjoy this. I've enjoyed this book more than I thought, especially for something that's kind of like an offshoot of the main run right now, which is Justice League Unlimited. I'd say it's pretty dang fresh. It's not top of the scale. It's not fresh AF. It's not 5 stars. I'd put it probably around 4 stars for me. It's a good story. I like these characters. I like the mystery and distrust with Red Tornado. I'm always a sucker for the storyline of friends not being able to be trusted. I just find them fun. It's good. I like it. It's a big day, or a big week, for X-Men in Marvel. This is all the X or X adjacent books that we have. This is what, 6 books? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, we got a lot going on. So we are going to start with the 5 comics that are connected to Age of Revelation right now. We have Unbreakable X-Men number 2. This is written by Gail Simone. Art is by C.F. Villa, maybe. Villa. I didn't love number 1 of this that came out last month. This follows the Louisiana X-Men, who in the normal books are Rogue, Gambit, and then a group called the Outsiders, Outsiders, who are younger, like teenagers that sort of showed up out of virtually nowhere that Rogue and Gambit are teaching and caring for. But the main cast of this series is Rogue, Gambit, Ransom, Temper, Dome, Spider-Girl, and Sentinel Boy. Issue number 1, spoilers for issue number 1, 3, 2, 1. Rogue is killed and turned to stone when fighting Galactus. On like page 3 or 4. Very weird, very big. Probably the biggest thing that I didn't love about last issue is we're suddenly getting one of the biggest bads in the Marvel Universe on like page 2 or 3. So Galactus shows up. Rogue decides, I'm going to use my power sapping powers to power sap his powers. So she does, but as a result, she is now massive, and effectively all of her life force, if you want to call it that, was drained, and she is just a giant statue now. issue 1 is focusing a lot on, after that, time passing and Gambit grieving. And I'm okay with that, because we don't get a lot of good grief stories in comics. However, this didn't feel like a great grief story to me. And then in issue 1, we come to find out that effectively this underground city of the dead that is underneath the Haven house, which is the house in Haven, Louisiana, that all these X-Men are living in, that the Outliers had previously... Outcasts? I'm sorry, I forget the name that the Teenage Mutants gave themselves. Effectively, there's this big bad half-dead entity that lives in a city of the dead underneath this Haven house that we find out at the end of last issue is escaping and about to wreak havoc on the world. Its main goal, its first initial goal, is killing humans who have betrayed mutant loved ones. Basically anybody who sold them out or abused them or killed them, etc., etc. Cool goal, except because Big Bad Monster is going to be a big bad monster, it's also going to just kill every human who didn't do anything wrong and then kill all the mutants, etc., etc. This was fine. This series came off of... Oh, bear with me. What is the other... Uncanny X-Men. There we go. The Uncanny X-Men series that this is effectively following up to, and then Uncanny X-Men will restart when this is done. I loved that. I actually really enjoy the dynamic of Rogue and Gambit specifically teaching a crew of young mutants. Their romance is always super fun. It's always nice to see like a romance in comics that's not getting ended and started and controversial and somebody's cheating. Especially when there's always crap with Cyclops, Wolverine, Jean, Emma. Like that gets old. I enjoy a good relationship with Rogue and Gambit. I really enjoy Uncanny X-Men from Gail Simone. I don't like Unbreakable X-Men. It feels like it's trying to do too much in the limited span of this event. We got the appearance of a world-ending enemy, and then shortly thereafter, the appearance of a world-ending enemy number 2. And in this issue, we're sort of gathering the team that is dispersed. And team gathering sequences in a lot of movies, shows, comics, whatever, that's usually a fun part. I like that, of like putting the team together, going through all the recruits, get a little montage going. But the problem is, we only had one issue before this. We didn't get to see or appreciate people dispersing and going and doing their own things. So it didn't hit the same. And now by halfway through this issue, again, we're fighting a world-ending entity. And as per normal comics, it's going to be, oh my God, how do we defeat them? Oh my God, we found a way to defeat them. And that's fine. We know how comics are going to end. The good guys are going to win. And I love that. I love that about comics. Just not when it's incredibly predictable or the stakes are too rushed or don't feel real. And that's kind of where I'm at with Unbreakable X-Men. I would put it at... This is probably like a 2-star book for me. On the fresh scale, I'd say it's like lukewarm. Yeah, I don't love it. I'm going to stick with it because I'm sticking with all the Age of Revelation stuff. It's just not for me. All right, next, we're going to go to X-Men Book of Revelation. So, unlike some of the other X books for Age of Revelation, this didn't pick up from a previous story. This didn't like take an existing team or cast and move it to a new series. This is, I would say the mainline book for this event, for Age of Revelation, is just X-Men. If you want the main guts of what's going on, you can read just X-Men. This feels like a worthwhile complement, Book of Revelation. This follows Revelation more closely through the eyes of some other characters. So we get a bit more context what's going on from effectively the baddies' perspective. Written by Jed MacKay, penciler Netho Diaz, inkers Sean Parsons and Livesey. Book of Revelation effectively follows it does follow a young mutant girl who her name is Elbecca. She was recruited by Revelation to be one of his choristers, he's calling them, which is effectively a team of mutants whose mutant power is to boost the powers of other mutants. That's a thing that's existed in X books for a while. It's not strange. It hasn't come out of nowhere. So he recruits mutants who can boost his power. And she is a child that has been recruited. In the end of, or rather throughout the first issue, one of Revelation's other choristers, Fabian Cortez, who is also not a new character for X-Men, is basically resentful, saying, I don't like when new powerful people come on the team because I want to be his right-hand man. I want to be the most powerful. And then spoilers, 1, 2, 3 for issue 1. This is issue 2. At the end, Fabian Cortez pushes Elbecca off the top of Revelation's tower, and she is then caught by Kitty Pryde, who is effectively in a ghost form of sorts. This is the first page of issue number 2. That's basically how issue number 1 ends. Elbecca was hearing rumors about there being a ghost of Philadelphia living in Revelation's tower. Revelation lives in Philadelphia. Shout out to Philly. It's probably the most redeeming part of this event is that things are happening in Philadelphia. So, Ghost of Philadelphia is also, or not also, is Kitty Pryde, who has been further mutated by this gene bomb to being effectively entirely incorporeal. And the only reason she is able to gain some kind of physical form in this instance is because Elbecca's powers to boost Kitty's powers took effect. Kitty is physical, at least while Elbecca focuses. And the main driving force here is that Kitty Pryde informs Elbecca of a bunch of stuff that Revelation has done. She kind of explains, because again, Elbecca is a kid, has only been born in while these events are happening. She doesn't know that Revelation is effectively the bad guy. So Kitty Pryde is informing her, and then chaos ensues. And at the end, we do get a pretty hefty reveal. I'm excited to see where this goes. The end is pretty brutal, and I enjoy that. I like when, obviously, there are some big twists. This wasn't fresh AF for me. I'd say pretty dang fresh. This is like 4 to 4.5 stars for me. It feels pretty close to essential for the Age of Revelation event right now. I like it quite a bit. The art is fun. I like the more covert story. There's a bit more mystery here. There's a bit more. There's a lot of betrayal and backstabbing. I enjoy it. It's fun. Next. What do we got? Oh, we have so many X books. This one should be pretty easy. The Last Wolverine. This stems off of the just straight up Wolverine series that was happening right before this and will continue after it. In that series, Wolverine, Logan, the one we all know and love, is off doing stuff in the Alaskan wilderness. He's like, I'm going to be on my own for a while. He comes across Wendigo, and anyone who doesn't know, Wendigo is a human who basically acquired a curse by eating another human and turning into a monster called a Wendigo. This guy right here. Wolverine spends some time with him. The Wendigo starts to be able to speak more and become a bit more human. His name is Leonard. He's a cool kid. And a lot of the main Wolverine series is Wolverine, essentially helping Leonard tame the beast inside in Wolverine's typical fashion. So we jump ahead 10 years for Age of Revelation. Wolverine is now being called the Angel of Death, and he is in control, or he is controlled by Revelation. He's basically his lead murder man. And Leonard is like, what the heck? So Leonard is actually up in Canada still. He donned the name Wolverine, put on Wolverine's clothes in honor of who he used to be, and is now a cool little Canadian superhero. And then by the end of issue 1, this is issue 2, Vindicator / Heather Hudson, also a Canadian superhero, is like, something has happened to my husband, her husband being Wolverine Logan. We have to go rescue him. And Leonard's like, hell yeah, dog, let's go rescue him. And that's what this issue is. The first issue is basically just the introduction to what Leonard is up to, why he's calling himself Wolverine, what happened to Wolverine previously. This issue is much more of, oh, we have a mission now, let's go rescue Wolverine. I enjoyed this a lot. I really like Leonard's character quite a bit. This talking Wendigo who's basically, I'd say in the main series, he's roughly a teenager, some kind of like early to mid teenager. So I think he's probably, I don't know, maybe in the 22 to 25 range in this. He definitely still sort of feels and talks like a teenager a bit, which I don't know the growth rate or maturity rate of a Wendigo, so I'm okay with that. I buy it. He's cute. He's a cool kid. So I like this quite a bit. This is fresh AF for me. I actually really like The Last Wolverine. If you're picking up some of the Age of Revelation comics, I'd pick this one up too if you have it in your time and budget. And for what it's worth, these Age of Revelation books just kind of keep getting better. I've sort of set them up in a way where we're starting down and going high. Oh, I keep forgetting to shout out the artist. The writer is Saladin Ahmed and the artist is Edgar Salazar. Good stuff. Next we got Omega Kids, which also did not pick up from a previous series. This Omega Kids concept and this cast is brand new to Age of Revelation. This is written by Tony Fleecs and artist is by Andre Genolet. This is Omega Kids, number 2. This follows Quentin Quire, i.e. Kid Omega, as he leads effectively a small army of powerful children psychics that he and Revelation is using to seek out dissenters in the Revelation territories. Basically anybody who disagrees with the powers that be, anybody who has rebellious thoughts, they are quite literally the thought police. They mentally scan the cities and territories, everybody who lives in the Revelation territories, to see if anybody stands to potentially start a rebellion. The big twist and really cool part of issue number 1, spoilers in 3, 2, 1, is that while Quentin is trying to teach these kids are actually also powerful enough to be heavily manipulating him and essentially keeping him in or creating illusory scenarios that he doesn't know are illusions, that he is operating within whenever they don't feel like dealing with him, basically. They want to get rid of him. They want to have their own conversations, whatever it is. They're like, screw this old man. We're going to fake his conversation with an old friend, making coffee together, having lunch, whatever. And they're controlling that. So that was the big pull for me in the last issue. I thought that was really freaking cool because Quentin Quire is always this Omega mutant. He's always incredibly powerful, can do virtually anything he wants. But in this, he's kind of still that, but suddenly these kids he's training are more powerful than him and also actively turning on him, and I thought that was cool as hell. It's also fun to see Quentin as an adult trying to teach and tutor other kids when he's normally the annoying rebellious member of whatever team he's on, even though he's not actually a kid anymore. Fresh AF, really enjoy this series. And now for what might actually be my favorite series in Age of Revelation right now, which is funny considering it's not even an X-Men book, is Radioactive Spider-Man. So. The cool thing about Radioactive Spider-Man is this is a story about Peter Parker who stayed in New York City even though the X-bomb went off, and he is a mutant, or he is a human, and he's getting mutated by this bomb more and more every day. To slow the mutations and to keep himself alive, at least temporarily, he is regularly dosing himself with borderline lethal radiation to ward off the infection from the gene bomb. It's brutal. From that, we come to find out that he's doing all this. He's dosing himself with a whole bunch of verging on lethal radiation. So we come to find out, big spoiler for issue number 1 in 3, 2, 1, that Aunt May survived the gene bomb in New York City, except she is now a terribly mutated monster. So much of the reason why Peter is staying in New York City is to keep an eye on Aunt May, who has been effectively in some kind of high-tech stasis pod that got broken towards the end of issue 1. So now she has escaped, and her mutation is not entirely permanent, as in she doesn't stay in this giant, awful, terrible beast form. She is herself a lot of the time, but it's very clear that she has some type of memory issues, probably from being in a stasis pod for roughly 10 years or so. And yeah, that's the big, huge, inciting incident in issue 1, is that Peter is mutated. He is weak from radiation that's just trying to keep him alive. He's trying to still look out for New York City as a whole, but he's also still trying to look out for Aunt May. This one picks up after she escaped. They got her under control. And now there are some old friends of Peter who are showing up to ask him to help with some issues outside of the Revelation territories. The further west you go, the closer it is to sort of the normal United States, because it's not the Revelation territories. They're trying to recruit him to help with stuff out there. And they're like, brother, why are you still here? Like, get the hell out of New York and come help us with like some bigger problems. And they come to find out about Aunt May, and that leads to a lot of interpersonal issues. And we love a good interpersonal issue with Peter Parker. This book is fresh AF. So fresh. I love Radioactive Spider-Man. It is so good. Better than it needs to be. I can't remember if I said it. Written by Joe Kelly, art by Kev Walker. This is some good shit. This is the one book in Age of Revelation that's not an X book is objectively, in my opinion, inherently means it's not objective, is in my opinion the best book of the event right now. What else we got? Oh, we only got one more, which I'm gonna be so real. And I only read it because I keep up with the X-Men stuff pretty closely. Was X-Men of Apocalypse #1. And by read, I mean I got halfway through, which is kind of my review. This, as far as I can tell, is it picks up. Age of Apocalypse was a whole big old thing with X-Men a long time ago. This picks up in some part of the story that I am unfamiliar with, because I never read that whole event, because I am just a 30-year-old boy who was not reading comics at the time. The art is nice. I do like the art. Let me get to the credits page. Jeph Loeb. I never know how to say that. Loeb. Jeph wrote it, and Simone was the illustrator. I do like the art quite a bit. The art is fun. The art is bright. The art is colorful. And as much as it does give us a summary of Age of Apocalypse right here on the title page, it wasn't enough for me, dude. It just didn't. Jeph Loeb, got it. It wasn't enough for me to stick with it. I'm unclear on which characters came from which timeline. I'm unclear on why some of these people are fighting each other. We get a bit of an exposition to try to describe what's going on. I felt lost in the beginning. I felt lost halfway through. And I will, to its credit, I will say, I read it after reading all of the other X-Men Age of Revelation stuff this week. So there's a very real chance that I was just X'd out, dude. X'd out. I just might not have had the energy for more X-Men, but this didn't feel... It just... You know what it is? This feels like a bad time. Like, why are we doing this now? While we're in the middle of Age of Revelation, which is kind of, in terms of format, a throwback to Age of Apocalypse. Story, scenario, whatever, all different. But it's the same concept of we just took all the X from here and pushed it up here. And here's what's going on. In my limited knowledge of Age of Apocalypse. And this feels like a bad time to do this. Like, if you want to revisit Apocalypse, great, that's fine. But don't do it when we're actively in the middle of a different dystopian future jump X-Men story. That's my unprofessional opinion. Is this just didn't feel necessary to do right now. I don't think it's bad. It just wasn't for me. I don't have the connection to this older event. I do have connections to some of these characters, but even then, they're presented in ways I'm unfamiliar with, which is probably accurate to the old event, I'm sure. Just wasn't for me, man. If you're a lover of Age of Apocalypse, you'll probably enjoy what's going on here. It seems like it's exploring some untold stories that were probably happening in the background of some of that event. I'd say it's worth checking out if that's something that interests you specifically. If not, if you're just in the market for an X-Men #1 book to jump into, I wouldn't do this. This does not feel like, regardless of it being labeled as #1, this does not feel like a place to jump onto. And no one else here can tell me I'm wrong, because I'm the only one here, which means I'm right by default. So you gotta listen to me. I'm not sorry about it. And this is the segment of the show where JD and I ask each other what we're looking forward to reading this week. JD, thank you for asking. I'm looking forward to reading issue 3 of Everything Dead and Dying. I have not read this yet. We have talked about issue 1 and 2 on previous episodes of the show. It is an incredible horror book, dude. It is horror as in there is gore for sure. It's not like, it's not like monster horror. Although it's a zombie book, it's not someone who's just surviving a zombie apocalypse and getting attacked every now and then. It's a very different kind of book, very different vibe, very emotional. I teared up on issue 2. We are on issue 3, and typically I would spoil what happened in 1 and 2 in describing this comic. I don't want to spoil the events. I will spoil some themes just to try to pull some more people into it. The themes are family, community, what it means to love a person, and what healthy and unhealthy grieving looks like. Those are a lot of the themes that stick out to me. Also, there are some questions of mental stability, how your thoughts and mind can dictate your reality. Very good book, dude. Very good book. Pick it up. Absolutely. Or, even if you don't get the individual issues, get the trade or the hardcover when it comes out. If this comes out in a hardcover, even though I'm getting all the floppies, I absolutely will buy that. Get that book. Also stoked for One World Under Doom. Yeah, that's... Oh, man. JD and I keep talking about the fact that we keep forgetting that event is still happening. And not even in a bad way. It's been happening a long time, but every step of the way has been good. It's been enjoyable. So I'm not complaining. All right, y'all. Thanks for hanging out with me. Check out Fresh Floppies every week. We talk about... There's usually more than just me. We talk about the comics of the week and give spoiler-free reviews. If you've made it this far, thank you very much for being here. Don't forget to also check out the CultPOP podcast, which talks about a whole bunch of fun stuff like TV shows and movies and books and video games. We just had a conversation last night about Running Man, the new film directed by Edgar Wright, which is an adaptation of a Stephen King novel, which also had an adaptation forever ago, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. That is not this one. Arnold is not in it. I enjoyed the movie, but if you want our full thoughts, you can check it out on the CultPopGo YouTube channel. Thanks for being here, everybody. Tell JD to start hanging out with me again, because no one wants to listen to me talk for this long by myself. I love you. Bye. Doot, 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 doot.